Alright, so this is one of my more recent creations here. This is kind of a schematic I came up with because I wanted to have something to use on this uh, LED matrix that I made. And the idea here is, well, with an LED matrix, any two that are lit up in this row, there's two sets of 8. Uh, one's the x-axis, the other's the y-axis. Whenever there's one matching in the x and the y-axis, it would be lit up. Anyways, what this does pretty much is this. I got a 555 timer here hooked up with a potentiometer and a relatively quick capacitor. That's just running a pretty quick clock that is telling this shift register to fill up with information. Or fill up with ones. Puts a 1 in the first slot, and then it shifts it in the next slot, and shifts it in the next slot, and it actually keeps filling it in with ones until it actually gets all the way full on its carryout pin on the shift register. I actually have it go into a transistor, which is grounding its the second to last pin, which is keeping its memory. So whenever it gets full, it deletes its memory and it refills up again, which is why these 8 start off with the first one, they all light up, and then they go back out again, and they just keep restarting. Every time it gets to the end, though, it's also carrying out over to the other shift register, telling that shift register to simply move over and update its output. So it shifts its information over. This other shift register also has its carryout, its final pin is actually its input as well. So when its bits get all the way to the end, the bits actually come back to the beginning and they just wrap back around. And this would make a pretty decent effect in an LED matrix. I included a couple buttons over here for the second shift register. One clears out its data, so now there's nothing in here. And now it would actually be off. The whole matrix would technically be off. The other one inputs data every time the other one gets to the end. So if I hold the button, when this one gets to the end, it'll input whatever information is in this button at that time. So this is me coming up with a schematic for it. Obviously everything down here would be ignored. Just the top schematic is kind of the brains of the matrix. Below would be the LED matrix. I've actually gone ahead and did that. This one has a lot faster of a capacitor. But here's the circuit. If I can get it to focus. There's the circuit. 555 timers on top. I got a shift register on the bottom, shift register in the middle. There is 2 buttons up here. The top button is resetting. This second button is putting in the bit. I got the transistors for those buttons. I put the transistors for the ground wire. I had to hook up some other transistors to get it to hook up to the matrix. Essentially, I spent many hours doing this, but it's done. And it has a potentiometer. I can make it go faster. Slow it down. Doesn't get much slower than this. I kind of want to put a slower capacitor on here, but this is where my time's been going.